Bigfoot 101, go to the cryptids. Locally, we're going to be talking about local stuff here. So who are we? We're the Asheville Cryptid Society. Again, my name is Christian McLeod. I got into this about 24 years ago. I had experience. I'm originally from northern Appalachia, and I was pretty much I encountered Bigfoot. Didn't know what it was when I was a little kid, and this is what happens. This is what it warp you into. Why bother with the therapy? Just start a cryptid organization. And we're here because we want to help. Because there's a lot of people that have seen stuff and they don't know what they've, they think they're going crazy. I can't tell how many times I've picked up a phone on my hotline and it's, listen, I think I'm going insane. I talked to a truck driver in Texas 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
9.5-foot dog man chasing his rig down the Louisiana Bayou. Tore metal on his door. Tore it. He said he didn't know how to explain it. He said, am I going insane? I said, no, it happened. I said, did it bite you? He goes, no. I said, you're fine. I said, so, I mean, it's just, but he just needed that release. You know what I'm saying? He needed to know he wasn't losing it. And it's hard when people say, Melvin says, I saw a 12-foot Bigfoot. He tells that to his best friend. They're like, you're crazy as hell. I believe him. Because Melvin, he's got no reason not to tell me the truth. So that's how we believe. We just believe if you say you saw it, you saw it. There's no reason not to. But that also puts a stigma on people. I do paranormal investigations as well. And we were doing an investigation and there was a police officer that witnessed something. Do you think he wanted his name down on the report? H-E double hockey sticks, no. He didn't want to be stigmatized. That we're still doing. It's 2019. The word goes to paranormal Bigfoot. Ooh, it's still makes people think you want to be labeled. Oh, there's something for one too crazy. You just can't think like that anymore. It's a different day, different age. But that's why we're here, because we want to help people. And I'm pushing the wrong button. Or I have really fat thumbs. Or both. Okay, that was working. Still no. Okay, haunted. Tiny, fix it. All right.
I didn't bring any sage with me.
I guess Shelly coming with it. All right, we're here to help educate people and discuss the possibilities of cryptids and their behaviors. I love that. That's, of course, well known that is Harry from Harry and Henderson's. I've actually had reports, this is exactly what it looks like, different color. Block teeth and everything, except bigger, more muscular. They did a great job with that outfit. If I was in the woods and I actually saw that guy dressed up like that, hopefully the GoPro's working, because the feet people. I'm like the cowardly cryptid guy. Anyway, does anyone else have any thoughts about what Bigfoot might be or is? Right. Gigantopithecus maybe? Something like that? Maybe it's something that's never gone extinct. That we still can't tie man to ape. There's that one missing link. Is he it? We don't know. So you have to think along those lines. A lot of people think, oh, it'd be extinct. Look at the coelacanth, right? Coelacanth, oh, that's been gone for 150 million years. Well, tell it the guy that just ate some last week in the Indian Ocean. So it's one of those things we just don't know. Well, what is a Sasquatch is? Exactly, what is a Yeti? I don't know. I always like that picture of the Yeti because that's like the big Yeti because the Yeti's supposed to be big and short. They grew accustomed to their climate. There's that theory where things grow to their climate. The colder, the bigger, the warmer, the smaller. That's why a skunk ape is small and stinky. Things like that. But I would imagine a Yeti would have to be quite big to survive if he was realistically. I mean, if this is a real animal, simply from the environment and the fact he'd have to move through the mountains. He'd probably have to have significantly longer arms. How many witness reports is it from this area? Are they real? Well, I'll tell you, I have taken some witness reports from this area. I've had people breaking down. I've had people calling me from the doctor's office. I've had people that I believe now are probably drug addicts from Valium because they don't know how to explain. I'm not criticizing. They just don't know how to explain what happened to them. Because, this doesn't happen. Those aren't real. And it's very sad. And a lot of them are local. But for us to talk about that, let's exactly talk about, oops, fat fingers. All right, Why are cryptids kept a secret? All right, I'm going to attempt to answer all these questions tonight, more if possible. But why are cryptids kept a secret? Who thinks the government knows about Bigfoot? All right. Who thinks the government knows about Kennedy? I'm just looking for my conspiracy theories. All right. If the government knows about Bigfoot, why are they keeping a lid on it? Why would you not talk about, openly say, listen, truth of the matter is, there's a 12, or you know, if you want to be honest, nationally, there's a 7 to 12 foot, you know, undiscovered North American primate running around who can have a temper tantrum and possibly every once in a while might kill a hiker. Have a nice night. You know, so why don't they do that? All right, and what are cryptids? I always like giving this. Cryptids are undiscovered life forms. Now, a lot of people think cryptids are just like, you know, Dogman, Mothman, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever. I throw everything, I put aliens into cryptids. That's me. All right, that's the way I do it. Because it's an unknown life form. It doesn't have to be unintelligent, it's a life form. So I just kind of narrow it down. So cryptids are that whole blanket for me. Again, a lot of people just think cryptids are undiscovered monsters. I don't like using the word monster, because, you know, what do they think of us? We're pink hairless apes.
And tastes like pork.
Chicken. Cryptids can be anywhere. Again, this isn't something, you know, Tiny and I, when we go investigate or we'll do an investigation, we don't usually talk about where we are. But I can assure you, that's pretty much on a mountain and there's nothing out here. That's about as far as I can see. So when we go places, we go places. But there's always a reporter for some reason. At any time of the year. I got a phone call from a friend of ours in Cherokee, and Bigfoot stole their Thanksgiving dinner. I love this story. This story happened firsthand. I was involved, not by myself being there, but some of my, I guess I was going to say inventory, some of my property being there. Got a friend of mine who lives on the reservation. I don't want to give his name because I don't have permission to. Big boy, good friend of ours. And his family celebrates Thanksgiving every year out at his little secluded camping spot off the res. And his grandmother is a wonderful woman. She's in her, God, I guess she's 88 now. She's got, you know, all her facilities, and she runs that show like the Army. Her smallest son is 6'4", so there's, you know, they're big boys. And there's about 16 of them, the whole family. They're all carrying coolers. Grandma's leading the way because she knows where she's going. Don't mess with the boss. And all of a sudden she stops and she says something in Cherokee, and my friend has been very westernized. So his first word was what? And he got, boom, slammed with her walking stick. And that meant stop, which he did. And then before he starts going off, why'd you do that? She tells him to shut up, and she points her cane like this, and about 60 feet from her, there's a tree, and in front of that tree is about a 12 to 13 foot Supaloo, kind of doing this gimmick. And she just said, again in Cherokee, we're leaving, put everything down, walk away. Well, my friend, again, wasn't paying attention, and said, why are we leaving? That was 2. So she said, put the cooler down, turn around, and walk away. So they all put their stuff down, turned around, walked away. Now, how did I personally get involved with that? That was my cooler. I had just bought that damn thing. And he saw it in the back of my car, and he's like, hey man, can I buy? Sure. I'm not going to use it. I've since had to buy another one. It has nothing but t-shirts in it now. It's not being used. But my point is this. It's active. He saw it. His whole family saw it. They don't talk about it. That's probably the 7th or 8th time his grandmother's had an encounter in her life with Supaloo. They don't mess with them. If they left, had they turned around and not left everything there, they probably would have had a problem. But they fed him, they gave him what they wanted. I'm guessing he likes the beer because I guess they had a couple of 12 packs in their life now. So I found all this out. This is the best part of the story. I get a phone call and I'm like, hey man, how's dinner? I'm at Arby's. I'm like, what? And then he proceeds to tell me what happened. So I guess Arby's was open on Thanksgiving. They went to the airport, Arby's actually. All right, but let's talk about our favorite one here, the one and only Bigfoot. First, why do we call him Bigfoot? That's Patty. This is Patty's footprint. Do I have to say any more? This is a small female. All right, Greg, you're married to a small female. Can you imagine if she was small enough to have this as a footprint and still be small? How would your life be? All right.
You're tough.
Exactly. I think the same thing. I look at my wife and I'm thinking, no way. I don't think it would work. All right. That's Patty, 1967. We have never been able to debunk this film. All right. Here's a good representation. This is off of Vic Pundit's website. The reason why I like to use it is because it's accurate. That's about right. Most reports, this is where he is. He's 7 to 10 foot tall and between 750 and 12 pounds. My friend, people get weight wrong all the time. Tiny, if we double Tiny size, let's say Tiny's 200 pounds. If we double Tiny size.
Yeah, it is.
I know. Well, I'm talking about when you were 4. If we double Tiny size, he's not going to be 400 pounds. All right? He's going to be triple that weight. All right? People get the weight wrong all the time. You get the musculature wrong. This guy's probably 1,250 pounds right now. All right? That's how big they are. The power in these things. We have seen the evidence of the power of these things. It's phenomenal. Once you take 6-inch oak, you've seen the friction burns on it, just snapped. It's crazy. Again, tallest report I've ever heard is 15 foot tall. Most footprints are between 16 and 23 inches and 8 to 12 inches wide. We follow the 150 rule when it comes to footprints. All right? If it's 20 inches long, and you're looking for our fuzzy friend, then it should at least be 10 inches wide. All right? That's usually how it works with Bigfoot. All right. Earliest reports of Bigfoot in North America come from Europeans. It's from Leif Erikson. 986 AD, my friends. All right? Erikson said they were met with violence from the creatures. They also marked an incredible offensive smell. This is a depiction where they said it happened the second they were getting off the beach. There's 5 or 6 of them come and give my axe whooping, pardon my language. But that's pretty much what happened. So they don't play. They were very territorial. Very territorial. You're doing Vikings. I mean, these are not the nicest people back in history. They pretty much came. They landed. This is now ours. Hey, that did not happen. Those of you, any historians in here? Anyone historian? They left. Bigfoot 1, Viking 0. They left. They went home. A lot of people believe that they left because Leif Erikson became a Christian and he was trying to spread Christianity through the Viking kingdom. That might have been part of it. The truth matters. My personal belief is he ran up against something they weren't ready for. And
So what you're saying is when he saw Bigfoot, he got Jesus?
pretty much, it made sense to me. It made total sense to me. Okay, now, oh yeah, I believe I'm out. So, something else. They used to have named stone giants, and this is applicable to this particular time because Bigfoot would rub dirt, mud into his fur and let it bake in the sun. Again, this is all hypothetical, but we do know they did this. I'm thinking it was probably for bugs, keep the bugs and insects off of them. But what it would do, as you think about it, back then they had bows and arrows and spears. Well, if you got an inch of, it would bounce off them. That's why these called stone giants, because their weapons wouldn't work. Then when the Europeans came with our fire sticks, that changed the game.
Fire sticks.
I like that. Fire sticks. Hellfire. All right. Lewis and Clark encountered Bigfoot in their travels. They referred to him as Bigfoot. He was known as the Wild Man. Where's my conspiracy theories again? Meriwether Lewis, what happened to his whole writings? Remember? Remember he shot himself in the head twice? With a gun he had to fill up and tamp down. The first one didn't get it. A lot of people think it's because that he had written things about his travels that would scare people out of westward expansion. And there's a whole Jeffersonian conspiracy about that. I don't knock it, it's possible. You know, you can't have manifest destiny if you've got 12-foot monsters in the woods. It doesn't work. My big guy, Theodore Roosevelt. Word about Bigfoot encounters in Book the Wilderness Hunter in 1889, the bombing incident. After the death of his first wife, when he goes to his ranch for 2 years, and he left his daughter with his sister, he became pretty much a roughneck. And at a fire where they were doing some cattle branding, he heard about the bombing incident, and he believed it enough that he put it in his book. Now, let's talk about Teddy Roosevelt for a little bit here, because I'm a big Teddy Rex fan. Most reports of cryptids come from what? What area? Anyone?
West.
Northwest. Actually, they're global, with exception. They're all close to or adjacent to national parks. All right. Who created the national park system? Why? Okay. Think about it. Why? And what's in the wilderness? Exactly. Homie, no, sit down. Drop the mic, homie. All right? It's just something to think about. All right? Bigfoot's been on North American continent for a very long time. This, I've never been able to debunk this. This is an alleged picture taken by the Smithsonian from some caves in California. Now, I cannot remember the name right now. Forgive me, I don't have it in my notes. But it's a pretty popular, if you Google, you know, Bigfoot Caves, California, it'll probably pop up. But these guys were covered. There were some guys, they were digging for bat guano. And they found about 62 bodies this size, all mummified. All right? Now, this guy is allegedly 5'10". And this was one of the smaller women or female bodies they found. Look at the musculature. Look at that. I mean, even, it's crazy. Cherokee Nation has been in this area particularly for 14,000 years. There's us, Kentucky, Kansas, I said that right, Kansas. All right. They've been talking about Bigfoot since their culture inception. All right. They say Bigfoot predates the Cherokee Nation in this area. This is another one. This was taken in Canada about 8 years ago. Someone said it was debunked, and they came out and said Todd Stang had something to do with it, and then the truth came out and said no. That was an actual picture taken by like a 16-year-old kid, and the parents were trying to sell it, and he got all messed up, which is why you don't try making money doing the cryptid thing. It just won't work. Again, these are things I've just heard. I don't know how relevant that is. I didn't take the picture. I just like using it because it's good representation. Because it's, I mean, look at that. If that's real, look at that muscular structure. Does anyone know why that neck would be like that? Why his neck would be like that? That's just raw strength. That's his muscle. Think about the power that can generate. James Mooney. Anyone here ever read Mooney? Cherokee Foremost? Great books. Highly recommend them. But they talk about the Bigfoot legends. It's in their mythology. Supaloo, tricksters, stuff like that. Basically, the Cherokee, they have a policy. Avoid them. Which was an example I gave of that story I told you. Drop Thanksgiving dinner, walk away. My brand new Igloo cooler. All right, it was blue. I never got to use it. How Bigfoot's using it as a stool, I don't know. All right, this is Devil's Courthouse on the Blue Ridge Parkway. It's home to the nefarious Supaloo from Cherokee folklore. We've all been there, right? I know. I can look around. I know some people have been there. I always like putting this in there because that just goes to show you that Cherokee folklore bleeds into our life just because it's the Devil's Courthouse. That's Bigfoot. And that's a national park monument. We've all been there. I've just found pictures of the three of us up there not too long ago. Very nice. I don't know if I ever sent those to you guys. Yeah, great. Love that place. It's beautiful. You guys ever been there? Check it out. It's not far. It's on the parkway. Have you been out there? Yeah, it's It's great. But it's local, and if it weren't for Bigfoot, we wouldn't have it. You guys ever been there? We also found, wasn't that where we found the small rock formations in the middle of nowhere?
Seems like it, yeah.
All right, so what evidence do we have? Everyone wants to know the evidence. All right. Pictures, footprints, hair, tree breaks, eyewitnesses, sightings, the Patrick Gimlin film. I love this one. This is awesome. Again, there's my girl Patty. Patty's fun. All right. Digital. This is the most modern technology. That is exactly what Patty looks like. Look at that pun. Take her to the prom. Updated verse. So, that would make sense. This is the crest right here. Why do you think they have that suborbital crest right there? Why do people think they have that? Why would that be beneficial to them?
Keep sun out of their eyes.
Nope. But you're not wrong. That's true. Bushes. You walk through trees. Nature would do that. All right. See that nose? Why would you need a nose with a spread like that? Again. Presagittal crest would help for the nasal cannula to go back so they'd have a bigger part of their brain would be reduced to the nasal so they could smell better. And you have those wide set eyes for optics. Again, think about how the brain structure would work on that. The prefrontal cortex, that's where eyesight is. It'd be huge. But that fits. And then the jaw, look at that. I can't imagine the pressure in there. It's incredible. All right. There's Patty close up. Now that's a small female, my friends. Remember, this is her foot. This is an actual cast, the Gimlin cast. This is Patty's foot. So, but between that and this, use your imagination. I know Mulder's thinking he's going to Pacific Northwest. He's going to find the next Mrs. Dr. Mulder. Sir.
So from the picture, how big is Patty?
They say Patty's between 7'6" and 8 foot. Around 750 pounds. And again, these are all arbitrary numbers because, you know, I'm never going to sit here and tell you this is it, this is the exact science. Anyone sit here and tell you that. This is just everything I've, you know, kind of picked up and underspent. This is the averages I've kind of come up with and other people have come up. I use Meldrum's, you know, Dr. Jeff Meldrum. I go through stuff he's written because it makes sense. Guy's got a PhD. We'll listen to him. Now, these are some other versions of type 1 Patty types. That guy creeps me out. But that's probably what Daddy looks like. I know. Not the name. Same paragraph. Now, these are the nice ones. These are different variations seen in western North Carolina, specifically in our area. This guy right here, see this color? This red? This is what's reported most in this area. Every once in a while you say solid black, but the color variations are very strange because, you know, most reports have that beef wings, beef jerky kind of color. Now that's also applicable because in nature this is the best camouflage. Black's not necessarily the best if it's snowing. Think about that. So I mean, but that's basically what they fix in this area.
If he was more blonde, he'd look like my Pekingese.
Yes, you would. I was just about to say that. All right. This is also in this area, and this is the Genasqua. This is the one you don't want to run into. There are more reports of this guy showing up all over the country. Yeah, he does. About he's 10 foot.
Yeah.
And they call them the face eaters specifically because usually their first mode of attack is to bite you in the face. Wow. Yeah, that's cute. Sorry for you. You know what actually makes me. If you see that, just walk away. Just. It might be one of those things where if you're in a group, you don't have to be the fastest, but you don't want to be the last. Or if someone's not feeling so good, it might be one of those instances where you're like... Tiny and I have this thing. Tiny, and God forgive me, I'm afraid it's going to happen. You know how like famous last words are like, hey y'all watch this? Tiny's probably going to run into one of these things. I'll be videotaping, and he's going to go to pet it.
It will happen. It will happen.
That's how he wants. That's how Tiny wants to check out. Now,
That's a true story.
This is exactly what happened. And I'm afraid that one. Now, how? Because he's selfish. Because I got to walk out of the woods alone and then call the cops and figure out how this is going to work. What happened to him? He pet the monkey. It's all right here. Just I'll sign whatever. It never happened. I got him. Whatever. But you know, I keep telling him, if it looks like that, you can't pet it. Patty, fine. This, no. We'll see what happens. All right, the most commonly types. These are the variety. I don't necessarily agree with this, but I always put this up because, you know, you listen to the show. It was a type 1, subgroup 4, you know. How the hell do you know? You got one of these in your garage? I love it when these guys get on TV or they're, well, I'm an expert. Oh, okay, where'd you go to school? Okay, it doesn't matter. But I'm telling you, you know, it's type 1, blah, blah. They're making stuff up. They are making stuff up. They don't know. And if they do know, then they're working for the government or something to that effect. Again, I don't like to hold the government or anything, but if someone does know, hypothetically it would be that. So, this is just types of things people see, and they broke it down into these groups. All right, there's the type 1. This is the Patty type. Type 2. This is huge in this area. Type 2s tend to be a little bit shorter. They're about 8 to 9 foot. Total no necks. Anyone in Virginia? Where's Bob? They have the term no necks up there for buggers.
Not that way.
All right. No neck. This would be a no neck if you're in that area. In
Yep.
other words, they used to call that because they see them and they're walking and there's just absolutely no cranium. It's all muscle. A lot of people say this type 3 is the dog man. Dog man's different. I have seen one. I will go on record of that. That ain't what I saw. This is a total different animal. I think they've just got a different snout structure, like a baboon. And then we have the relic hominid. This would be, a lot of people think these are up north on the east coast. Maine. This would be what the wild man of Maine would look like. Which is funny because I've talked to someone from Maine that saw the wild man, and it was a Patty type. Which brings me to my whole thing about, I think they migrate, but that's a different story. Now, there's some evidence that we took, and I'm just going to tell you right now, this is 8 pounds for the water. Carrying this much around is a pain. I am lazy. Tiny and I will argue about who's going to carry what, and we will leave it in the Subaru, and that'll be it, because no one wants to carry it. And the truth of the matter is, what's that plastic cast going to get me? If it's close enough to go back to the car to get, I'll do it. I don't like doing them simply because you got to sit there. The other thing is, what made that track might still be floating around there. And it's great if the camera's there, but if it's in a bad mood, or it's not happy that you're stalking it, you know, they might have laws of their own, you know, anti-stalking laws. So, we don't want to bother that. But, again, that's a size 15.5 boot. This, more or less, is that's a Dogman footprint. Here's the toe pads right there, and here's the back part right here. We were in an area, it looked like a war had gone on. I still think something territorial happened there. There was some other stuff that happened in there. That's a whole different story. I don't know. We need to give that a couple more years before we talk about that publicly. But there was tracks like that, and there was what I believe to be Bigfoot tracks all over the place. And everything at above 9.5, 10 feet had been pulled down, ripped out. Tree branches. It looked like you could see one thing started here, went down here, downhill. Trees were smashed. I mean, there was no way to even say that didn't happen, because just if you look at It kind of looked like Superman beating up Doomsday. One of those things that just the carnage and the wreckage. Just if you put it on a tree scale, that's what it looked like. It was just that kind of damage. It was ridiculous. This print right here, again, that's probably, I probably should use the other picture. That's 21 by 11. And it was found right next to this. And next to this was what, about 5 or 6 more. And they were all over the place. This was not too far from here. This was pretty local. That was an interesting day. That was the day we went out, and I go out armed. For those of you who listen to podcasts or do anything with us, we all have concealed weapons permits. We all go out armed, and it's not for, it's just for our protection. It's nothing, we're not out, I'm a no-kill guy. I don't associate with people that are about killing one, bring one in, for 2 reasons. One, it's stupid, because why would you do that? And 2, you're never going to bring it in. How are you going to be 7, 8 miles in the middle of the woods, shoot something 900 pounds, and expect to bring it in? I love these guys on the grab a tooth with what? My channel locks are in the car. Pull a finger off. Get some of its blood. Okay, well, I'm not worried about him. I'm worried about the 7 other guys that's with him. That little payback, is being requested. So I'm just a no-kill guy. And even if it was down to it, I don't think I have a firearm. I've got a 357 or 45. That's it. So I mean, it's going to be one of those. So I don't know if that'd be strong enough to stop that. Might scare it away. I'd probably do the 1, 2, 3 in the air real quick. Trying to figure out where Tiny went. Tiny's like 6 miles up the road.
I'd be trying to pet it, I would.
This was trying to eat you. Tree breaks.
I'm
This
delicious.
is actually right here. Again, I wish I had a better picture of this one. That actually, I know that what that kind of looks like just a chunk, but when we looked at it, it looks like just a hand went like this. And it's probably about that big. Like it's just someone scraped it out of there. And that's not rotted. That was solid. Tree glyphs all over the place. There's another rip out of a log. This was actually more impressive when you saw it in person because it's actually, it's not small. It's probably about 8, 9 inches around. And then we found those all over the place. Tons of those. And those were woven. That was actually, you can't really see it right here, but there was like a smaller tree ripped up and woven in there, like tied in a knot. Well, I don't know who would do that, and that was 12 feet up. So, this was a large area that was completely made from branches. I believe this to be the highest point of this nest was 10 feet. As possible, it was around 30 feet circumference. It was still in real good shape. It was just probably a season old because the leaves had fallen off. But next to all this, we found all these blinds that had just been built. Like naturally, they had taken bushes and woven them and stuff. And that's right before I heard that grunt, and we decided to leave. So this was while we were finding that 21 by 11. So we were pretty close to this guy. He obviously just didn't want anything to do with us. Because I think we were raiding his house. And this was the one time we went out unarmed. Because the first time I hear that, I go like this. And I hear Tanner, I ain't got your gun. I look at him and he's not moving, he's like this. And then I'm going, you got yours? No, we left him in the car. Said nothing, we just backed out. So that was another interesting experience that we had. It wasn't too far away. Right, local reports. All right, 100 counties in Asheville. Mostly type 2s and type 4s. We've pretty much got reports from every county. And like I said, when we get reports, I saw this over here. It's not, you can go to the BFRO network, they're not going to get them. A lot of people aren't going to go into that. We get a lot of reports from people saying, well, 2 years ago my uncle saw this, and I take their word for it. We're not going to go investigate right then and there, but, if someone says they saw it, they saw it. All right, Bigfoot close to home. Of course, we got a little Buncombe County. All right, Barnesville right now. 3 or 4 a week. Just different areas, usually farms, something like that. Saw something running, saw something. Now it's possible they're confusing Dogman with Bigfoot simply because of that particular area. Again, I don't know. I always like this picture in Hendersonville. So this, who remembers this report a couple of years ago? This was all over the place. I mean, I don't think they ever debunked it. Because that's allegedly Mr. Foot. Now this is a bear. This is, you know how you buy those bears and you put them by your mailbox? That thing came up to here on me.
I thought the guy admitted it was a hoax.
Not that I've
Is
heard
that a
of.
different thing?
That might have been, but I've never heard
Four
this one was
summers
a hoax.
ago, there was a guy that
There was a guy in a suit, but that was in Marion.
Was it?
Yeah.
That was McDowell.
McDowell County. But this is Hendersonville. This has never been disproven. That, like I said, that bear came up to about here on me. So if that's about there and he's hunched over, you know, it might be 7 foot. Again, but it's local report. That's why I put it in here. So this is something I've never done before.
Yeah, I remember the video.
And I probably am the only one that's ever done anything like this because this is kind of like just giving up the ghost. But I like you guys, and I think you guys need to see exactly what my reports look like. Every one of these red circles is a report from last year. That is the crux of my investigation work right there. That's basically giving it up. That's what I got. Some of these X's are dog, that's a Dogman report. When we went there, I believe that we were actually being tracked by a Dogman, because we saw him twice. And this was close to an area right here that I had had a personal encounter with about 2 years prior. This is what 2018 looked like for the Asheville Cryptid Society. I seriously doubt anyone will ever show you that in any other organization. That's just basically me being honest with you. I said, you know, this is local stuff. That's pretty local. That's real close to someone's home. Right around this general area up in here. Yeah, I figured. Well, it's
And he's
not
buying
here.
the camera, and it's the red camera now.
Anything? We'll talk about it later. How's he doing? Good. Again, that's what we had last year. All right. So where else does Bigfoot live? He's everywhere. The only report we've ever had of Bigfoot is white, and they have pup wedgies. They have little people. They got a smaller, more violent version. Ruin your luau. I like this one. This is the reported Bigfoot sightings since what, 1930? Anyway. So there's like 3,200. All these reports, all confirmed. I think it's 3,200. It's too small. I just thought it was a cool fact because that gives you an idea of how many people, because look where we are. Now I think we're at the Appalachian Trail. Again, I'm going somewhere with this. I went from Canada back down, Canada back down. Sure. That's my personal belief. All right. And when we're doing Bigfoot, we always have to do his cousins, right? And I was like going through this. The Dogman.
Nice.
Now, has anyone here ever seen Dogman? I have. That's about what I saw. That's a good representation. I will say this, it was more muscular than this representation. And it wasn't me. I was just driving up the interstate, or I was driving up the parkway, and it was just down there looking at a rock, sitting on a rock, and it was just looking around, it looked at me, could have cared less. That thing was bigger than the Honda Fit I was driving. And if it wanted to eat me for a snack, it really probably just could have reached out its arm, pushed me off the road, and crunch. But could have cared less.
Don't take much to be bigger than a fit.
This is true. This is true, but it was. Most Dogman reports describe 3 different types. Some have tails, some do not. This is the way I do them, because again, this is where people's area, this is what takes me off. People break it down, okay, it was a type 2 subsection 4. Again, how do you know? Don't try to make it. So I just go by 3. I give 3 classifications, sometimes with or without tails, and colors tend to vary. Most will be black, gray, blackish gray, or that reddish color. We've had that, and some actually have spots or mange, and some, but most of them are black. And I believe they go gray just like other animals do. They still get like that muzzle look too. But I call them alpha, betas, and charlies. All right. Alpha right here. I've had alpha reports. This is just a good one, but this should be higher. 10 foot. I've had alpha reports up to 10 foot. I've had them both with and without tail. All right. Beta right here, probably the most common. Again, something you don't want to run into. And then this guy right here, I call him Charlie. They call this the seeker. The Cherokee call them the seeker, or sometimes they'll call them the Wendigo, but that's probably not the same creature. This is just what I think he gets mistaken for. But these are about the 3 basic sizes from local reports. And I personally think this is pretty much, this guy right here, that's pretty much the one seen around here the most, but we have had reports of this guy. Right here in the southwest, that's where this guy's pretty much seen the most. Now, you can't talk about Dogman without talking about Kentucky. Eastern Kentucky, still Appalachia. But this is Land Between the Lakes, LBL. Anyone ever heard of that? The LBL? Huge believer in that. Huge believer in that. That's a place we're trying to get to. We've got some stuff planned, and we plan on going there. The LBL is delivered. It's divided into 2 spots. It's the northern part and the southern part. For those of you who listen to Bigfoot Outlaws and stuff like that, they won't step foot in the northern part. They won't even drive it. All right, those dogmen sightings in the woods. There's our buddy right there. This is the Beast of 7 Shoots. My personal beliefs is, I remember I showed you that the three types of Bigfoot. I think he's a type 3. You can see this now. This is actually, a lot of people thought that was a poodle. That's actually a golden retriever. Just to give you a size. I thought that was a poodle for years. I just recently learned. I was recently told, and again, this is one of these internet things, but I was told that was actually a Barracuda. They cleared that up. They talked to the guy that saw that. They said it was a golden retriever. Full grown. Take a look at the size. How big is a golden retriever? 130 pounds. I mean, our chocolate lab was 140. She had a weight. She would be out the woods because of the boat out there. Most reports state that witnesses believe that the creature enjoys scaring them. Because of this, Dogman is referred to as a crypto-terrorist. That's a term coined by Dark Waters, crypto-terrorist. You'll hear these reports, and they'll be like, this 9-foot, 1,200-pound werewolf was staring at me in the window, scratching the window, doing this, doing that, and then it's basically laughing about how scared you were in life. And they're like, this one. It's possible. I mean, they might have a 6th sense of humor. You don't know. They've got to be intelligent because they remain, hidden. I think they're pack animals, so maybe they're impressing their buddies. Maybe it's how they get their kicks. One of them goes across the street, go terrify the kid next door. So I'm in the woods again. There's a bigger picture of that other one I showed you. This gives a better representation. But this is just an example of how this goes through our time. So I think this is what, from 72? Yeah. Again, this was actually proven faked. I just like the way, because it represented how fast it would be going and how everybody gets a picture of that thing. Again, I don't know how they faked that, but it was allegedly in terms of fake. This is the most common sight. You'll see a dog man, that's his head, and they'll be sleeping under a tree in the woods. Makes sense. They get tired. Here's another good one. This one's never been proven fake either. That's his face. I guess he's like sitting on more of his haunches than anything. The witness had said this is a 6-foot stockade fence. When he stood up, He had about a foot and a half over the fence. Again, other types of cryptids. Gotta love the Mothman. He's our harbinger. Who believes in Mothman? I think he's real. Lizardman, South Carolina. Just had another report of him not too long ago.
Had a couple.
Yeah.
Is it the same spot they were before?
Well, he's got the swamp. He's got a pretty big area out there. He's got a specific swamp.
Swamp area?
Yeah.
Where's that out?
Yeah.
Skateboard.
South Carolina.
What part?
What's the escape? What is it? Yeah.
Skateboard.
So, Lizardman Facts. He's got red eyes, 3 fingers, green scaly skin. He's about 7 foot tall. That's actually about most reports.
Where,
Yes, ma'am. South Carolina.
where did you say that?
Was it called South Carolina?
Skateboard.
Skateboard Swamp. Yeah.
Is that near the coast?
No, that's it. That's not this.
Isn't it like northeast of Columbia, around in that general area?
I think so. I'd have to see a map because I've seen it before, but it's just been so long.
Yeah, I think it's something in that general area.
Very active in this area too. A lot of Thunderbird sightings. Cherokee Nation, huge believers in Thunderbird. I've never seen one, but I can imagine, you know, with condors, what are they, 7-8 foot wingspan? 10 to 12? So it's not too far out to believe there'd be something bigger than that. The Puck Wedgie, I love these guys. I went to Western, and when they were building Western, they came upon what they described as hobbit homes. All throughout where they were building the stadium. And they brought in North Carolina State Bureau and all these people investigated it. And what they ended up doing is just bulldoze it. When I was coming out, I took a class out there at night. And I still don't know what the hell I saw out there, but I was pulling around the back, like behind the school, to get back on the road. And these 2 little things just ran across the street real quick, and I still to this day don't know what they were. But to me, it looked like almost like Keebler elves with hair. I don't know what it was. But our Puck Wedgies, they're reported all over the world. Leprechauns have been mistaken for Puck Wedgies, things like that. They just regionally look different. The Yucatina. I've got a friend of mine that swears he saw one of these by Cherry Falls. Swears. Said his head was the size of a Volkswagen. And he's a cryptid guy. He's actually, we don't know. But he, point blank said, and that's why he's never been back. He's afraid if he brings his kid back, he's never going to see his kid again. And here's my big question. Why are cryptids kept a secret? Anyone?
We have to rewrite history.
I think you're right. Right? And here's my answer.
Red and black.
I don't know. But I will tell you this, see this? There's 2 of these, that's Asheville Airport.
Oh, yeah.
Why would you have those in Asheville Airport, specifically in spring? 2 of them. And all they're doing is flying up and down the hot springs area.
Oh, yeah.
I know this for a fact because I was talking to the guy who was flying it. I said, what are you guys doing? Training. And they had the big old front nose of the cone right there, that's the infrared. So during the day, they're flying these things up and down specifically cryptid hotspots with infrared, the thermal imaging during the day. They looking for bootleggers? Wouldn't that be funny if Bigfoot was a bootlegger? They're gonna get him, he's got like an overalls. Y'all want some? Now there's stories in Ohio where they steal the mash. They get trumped up there. And you never know. This is something I like to harp on. This is safety while doing research. And I've been a hypocrite about this because I'm not the brightest guy. Every once in a while I'll do something stupid and I'll like go out on my own, do something stupid. And that's almost cost me several times. The last time I did that, I didn't think I was coming back. I thought that was game over. But there was a few issues. But I've learned, you know, you got to plan, prepare, and perform. You got to be smart. You gotta be safe. Never go out alone, ever. I don't care how bored you are or how think, oh, I can do this, right? It's just stupid. If you go out alone, you probably plan not to come back. That's just the way it is, because you never know what's gonna happen. You never know if you're gonna have something injured, car breaks down, you never know. Equipment failure, you never know. I applaud these guys that go out there and they think they're tough and they do like these, you know, Iron Man, oh, I don't need this for 6 weeks, I'll be out the woods. Personally, I think they're stupid. It's nice to know you can do it, but why take the chance something happens? Guys, REI, and I know we're here with REI, but they do a lot of cool stuff, but honestly, I laminate this. This is a little checklist they have on the website. It's free to download. This is awesome because it basically tells you what you need, what to bring, what you do. I use it. And some of my equipment's not on there, but you know, my camera equipment, stuff like that, but all your other camping essentials, they're on there. And again, it's free. Save money where you can. Buy a good camera. Something I always tell people, you can get here, but this right here, if you buy nothing at all, invest in a compass. All right, this will save your life. All right, this is actually an old model. I've had this forever, but that's all you need. People think, oh, I can use my phone, I can use this. I have been out in the woods where my phone did not work, and along with the phone not working, the signal for the compass to work did not work. The car radio did not work. I mean, it's, you know, you've got to have backups on backups on backups. You've got to be smart. So I always tell, plot out your route, use up-to-date maps. Yes, I'm sure this is up to date. This is probably a lot more modern. What I've got, this is topographical. Yeah, this is a good one. This was revised about 10 years ago, but yeah, that's probably up to date. Always use something. You have, and communicate. Communicate, you know. There's been several times where I've had phone call from a dear friend that someone wasn't, you know, communicating and may or may not have been, you know, bear bait. Can't imagine that.
I don't know why you looking at me.
You want to handle that one? Because he wouldn't communicate. Got to be smart. Anyone can get lost. I don't care how bad you think you are. Oh, I'll use the sun. It's 4 o'clock, right? All right. Anyone can get lost. All right. Here's a prime example. I'm lost. My wife, who was taking the picture, was yelling the fact that we were lost. And I said, no, babe, I'll go up here, carve your name in that tree, and I'll figure out where we are. I was buying time, folks, buying time. Please, Lord, let the phone work. And we found the path to get out of there, but lost. Not gonna lie. Again, always have a compass. I always have 2 or 3, because you never know, you might fall and break one. Always use common sense, think before you act. I like putting this guy up here because, again, picture Tiny over here, getting a running start, trying to jump on him.
I can see that happen. Just video.
Well, that's, again, he's looking at me, Tiny's coming around this way, we're going to put him in the panzer, right? That's the plan. Will it happen? Probably not. This is an example of how easy it is to get lost. Here's Tiny and I. We're looking at this tree. Why are we looking at this tree? Is this the tree we went in the first time? I can tell you exactly what he's saying right here. I don't know. You were supposed to keep track of that. And we got out, but we were pretty good in the woods, and you know, it takes a couple minutes sometimes. And again, I like putting this is an example. Anyone can get lost. Any questions? All right. All right. So what are we doing this summer 2019? We're going to continue to explore and investigate, try to prove the theory I came up with about the cryptid cave theory. And this is just a little footnote I like to put up there. But what we're basically going to do is we're going to 3 or 4 different states, and we're going to try and prove that there's a cave system connecting everything that cryptids can use as basically a highway system. We're also gonna talk about a city that was purposely flooded in the weeks. I like that little wave, right? I saw that head nod right there. That was purposely flooded in the weeks of World War II just beginning, where they diverted 30,000 men for 36 months to build a dam to flood something. Now, I got some reports, I don't know how realistic they were, that one of the reasons why they did this because they were having wolfmen come out of the caves at night. So we're going to talk about that, and we're actually going to dive that area and try and get pictures. I'm a former commercial diver, so not really worried about depth.
What lake is that?
Huh?
Montana?
Exactly. All right, there's Tiny actively investigating.
Very active, as you can tell. That's a
Actually, you
horrible
want to
picture.
laugh? You want to laugh? This is right before something happened right over here.
Yeah,
Tiny, you all right? Yeah, man, I'm relaxing. Leave me alone.
it's a horrible
All right.
picture.
I love that picture. That's hilarious. These guys, what the hell are you doing? And this is how you can contact us at any time. Folks, have any questions? Anyone want to share experience they have with a cryptid or something? Anyone? I would like to open up the floor to that. Yeah, go ahead, please. What's your name?
Shannon.
Hey, Shannon. How you doing?
I'm a high school student,
Okay.
but I'm actually actively investigating for a friend of mine. I became friends with her through this event actually, which I find very interesting, but I do have some photos that if you
I'd love to.
Okay. I have some photos of some footprints, unfortunately drawn through castings.
I understand.
Yeah.
Not a fan of
Footprints and also video evidence.
What kind of video evidence?
It's on YouTube, but it was very quick and she didn't realize it. At the time she filled it with
Is this at a graveyard?
No. That would be on my channel, that's the other point. It was actually at her house in the, I do believe, Triad area here in North Carolina.
Yeah, I'd love to see some
And-
evidence.
She thinks, a lot of people have been saying it's a rake. If you've heard of that.
Oh, I'm very familiar with Ray. I'm not a big believer.
But I'm starting to rule out possibilities, and I think it's more towards paranormal than cryptid, even though they do go hand in hand.
We got you covered.
But yeah, it's quite interesting. So if you'd like to see photos.
Definitely,
I'll show you
definitely.
those.
Anyone else?
What's a rake?
A rake's an elongated being. It kind of looks like a Wendigo, but it's doesn't have the horns, and it's got a mouthful of teeth, and it basically is like almost a ghoul.
Real pale
Goes
looking.
around, killing, murdering, eats people.
Half slender man, half Wendigo.
It's a scary.
Anyone
thought,
else?
isn't it?
Questions?
Question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
We used to do a lot, my husband and I used to do a lot of camping. That's how we ended up down here from the Chicagoland
I
area.
understand.
Okay, but we used to camp in the Smokies and the Balsams in the bar campground way up high off Cherokee.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep, beautiful back there, very secluded, hardly anybody goes back.
Don't have Thanksgiving back there.
Huh?
Don't have Thanksgiving back there.
That was my question. Have there been reports of things back there?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, because there was one, we had gone on a family with my younger daughter on the main trail going back before you can take the car the one-way, on the one-way trail back there. Anyway, it was the walking horse trail, whatever, and this was probably 15 years ago. Anyway, long story short on that one, as we got farther in, we flushed out some wild boar, and they went up the hill, and my husband wanted to up the knife, but whatever. Scared us, we went back. Well, the next time we camped there, I thought they were all taking a nap, and I thought one afternoon I'd just maybe try to do the trail again and get back to where we had seen the wild boar and everything.
So you're brave.
I was brave, not anymore. Went back, it was probably a good mile and a half down the trail to where the boar were, maybe not a little bit farther. Got maybe about halfway down, forest got real quiet, got spooky, freaked me out, to the point where I was, my spidey sense was up and moving. And I kept trudging along and thinking there's something here watching me, there's something going on. But like I said, it went dead quiet. I mean, the birds, the animals, everything went dead. And I finally got to a point, trudged on a few more feet, got to a point and said, no, don't need to go any farther here, need to get back up the trail. And
Probably
everything.
saved your life.
And the more I think about it, the more I explore into different things. I'm like,
Have you read Missing 411?
yeah, read all of them.
Yeah, I've
Read
got
all
them all
of
too, and I tell you what, it's a brilliant book to write, because it writes itself. All it does is take the reports,
Scarier than hell.
and it's terrifying, because these people are missing.
Obviously went back up the trail, and I don't know how far back up the trail, but after a little while, birds started singing, everything started clearing up
That's
again.
a key example. Every time, every dogman encounter I've ever heard that didn't end up well, or every Bigfoot encounter, I honestly believe there's some kind of pheromone or something released by these creatures that scares the bejesus out of everything else, and they either shut up or they get the hell out of Dodge.
Well, and
Because every bugs, there's lightning bug reports. I just got this report the other day, there's dogman sighting. Dogman's coming up this way, and there's this whole field. All the lightning bugs on this side are up, nothing over here. He said it just looked like someone turned the lights off on one side of the room.
Even the noises, the animal noises,
Yep,
everything
everything
went back
stops.
on. It was still that sense as I was walking back up the trail alone that something was watching. It was the spidey sense. It was just,
And you always
it's
listen to
better,
that.
it's better, but it wasn't, and so I've always been curious as if there's anything back there. And what's all the stuff about hidden bases and things back in that
Oh,
direction?
UFOs over cashiers.
Well, cashiers and
Yeah.
supposedly
Yeah, but that's
back in
at
that
Lady-
general
yeah,
area
yeah.
too.
That's at, you know what, I don't know. I'm not gonna discredit it, I just don't know. Is it anything's possible.
Well, my
I
other.
mean, I think if you're gonna talk about underground UFO bases, my associates right here are probably experts on that,
Yeah,
being from there.
I actually live in Haywood County, so what's going on in Haywood County?
There's a lot of Bigfoot dogman reports in Hayward County.
I live out in the Bethel area, so just curious.
I've had Bigfoot reports out there, I mean,
Yeah.
not a whole lot, but they're out there.
They're out there.
I mean, yeah, but, you know, these, again, it's all seasonal. I honestly believe that's why I think they migrate. I think they go south for the winter, and they go, when it gets hot, they go to Canada, and they go around. That's just, again, it's my opinion, could be 100% wrong. And I'm sure there's some that stayed because they have perfect food sources, or they're deep enough in the woods, no one bugs them. But that's very possible. Again, I don't discredit anything, you never know. Because
Right.
there's nothing, they could, like, if my tunnel, or if my cave theory is true, you know, you get a certain amount of depth underground, year round it's always 70 degrees.
Isn't there
So,
supposed to be a cave theory that, oh gosh, what's the big cavern in Kentucky?
Mammoth.
Mammoth, isn't that Mammoth's hooked into everything?
I think it
and
is.
heads east. And
That's
whatnot.
part of mine, I've got a buddy of mine from that area, and this summer we're gonna be, it's part of the thing we're gonna be doing. We just don't have the timeline done, because the hard part is arranging everyone's schedule.
Right.
The easy part's going, hard part is getting everyone together. So that's where that comes in. Anyone else? Yeah, sorry about that.
That story that was in the news about the kid lost overnight.
Oh, with the bear?
With the
Yeah,
bear,
what do you
yeah.
think?
That's Bigfoot. That's Bigfoot, I don't care what anyone's, there's a report from Michigan in 1858, a little girl disappearing. That's in David Pilates' book.
Yeah.
My date could be wrong, something like that. And she said that she was taken by the wolf, and the wolf ate her hat, but it gave her berries, kept her warm at night, same kind of thing, same kind of story. And there's other reports of like Bigfoot grabbing small kids and keeping them for a little bit, snuggling with them at night, giving them berries, and then bringing them back to campsites. But again, my thing on that, I actually called, I called to get the police report on that, and I talked to the lady in charge of all the reports, and she refused to call me back. Because I made a mistake, yeah, I'm a cryptid investigator. Second I said it, I was like, oh darn. Mistake one.
Speaking of kids, the child that was a special needs child that got lost and they couldn't find him for a couple of days south of Charlotte or in that general area, and they ended up finding him in the stream. Any more on that one? Anybody heard anything?
Haven't heard
on
anything on
one
that one.
strange about that one?
They're keeping that whole little, you know, they don't talk about that.
I
Once
know.
they get, and thank God they found the kid, let me just say that. Thank God the kid's all right. but you're never gonna hear.
Well, from that kid,
Yeah.
but this kid was found dead in the
Yeah.
stream. I happen to know about it because I have a special
don't
needs
remember that one.
grandson.
So that's the part that missing children.
Yeah,
They're
that's,
either extremely brilliant people,
Yeah.
scientists
Or-
or.
Usually with a German background. You know that?
he was a seatmate next to my grandson, who's a special needs child in the school in Charlotte area, so.
I'm sorry about, I did not know,
Yeah.
no, I didn't hear that. But Homie's right, special needs are highly intelligent,
Yeah.
and most of the highly intelligent ones that disappear, all for some reason have a German ancestry.
Right.
Or they're on the spectrum.
Or
on
on
the
spectrum, or they're
spectrum, yeah.
like high-end doctors or physicists. A lot of people
I
like that
just thought
disappear.
that the child, the special needs child that was missing, when they found him in the middle of the stream, and he was kind of weighted down in the stream. Now, whether it was just some whack job, or whether it was something else that had gotten him. Because it
tragic,
sounded an
yeah.
awful lot like colitis.
Yeah, there's a Reddit for missing children reports. Check more of the details from the recent missing kids, because they've changed, the pattern has changed. And as far as, like it used to be if they're missing a certain shoe, the left shoe.
Right.
It's missing from one.
Right.
Go on Reddit, there's usually, if you can see anything from the case report versus the typical phenomenon, you might line up, you might want to submit it.
And David Paulides he's like, I follow him on Twitter, and he's still very active in these things. And it's funny, up here, I brought this as an example of the big things, but when he talks about the FOIA, well, just happened to have one right here, and it was my FOIA, and I got absolutely nothing that I requested. And what I got back was completely redacted to the point where it was pretty much, they sent me blank pages. And that's what I got.
What
Now,
was the request on?
huh?
What was the request for?
There was a kid that killed himself allegedly in Tennessee, not too far from here actually, and he had a white Ford Ranger. He went to a Walmart, and he had some mental issues allegedly, and he had some drug abuse in the past. But here's why I was interested. All they found was part of a skull cap, and I think a molar in his campsite. But they said it was a suicide. It gets better. He killed himself with an X-Acto knife, put the X-Acto knife back into his case, back into his bag, tightened it up, tied it all back up, and put it into his bundle. And then he crawled off about 1.5 miles and died. And then he was eaten. Is it plausible? Yeah, but at this time of year, black bears aren't really eating meat. They're doing pretty good on everything else. Again, you don't know. Anything's possible. Just seemed to me it was a little suspicious. I got more.
A little?
I got more information off the internet, off of newspapers, than I got from the FOIA. They didn't even give me his name before. They blanked it out. So they're difficult, And then I've had some people get FOIAs, and I honestly believe it's subject matter. Once they're aware of who you are, and what you're doing, I think once you're on the radar, it becomes different. You're gonna try to stay under as long as you can. You never know. Anyone else? Rick?
I've read a lot of books and talked to a lot of people that have done the Appalachian Trail, and I just wonder what your thoughts are about it, because I've never really had anybody tell me that they've ever seen anything, like a Bigfoot or anything. I wonder, because it's such a highly traveled trail with hikers, do you think that they would avoid, being within sight of that trail?
I think at certain times of the year they avoid it, but I also think most of the time, by the time we're doing the Appalachian Trail,
Yeah.
they've already migrated.
So I kind
they're
of think
done.
the Appalachian Trail would be fairly safe to go on.
This time of year, no. Right now, no. You've got to. I think this time of year, this is what I call hot spot time of year.
Right.
This month specifically for that area, we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
But another month or two, it'll
Seems
be
to be
dead.
the end of February, March, and April.
Exactly. And then they're going up.
And then they're hairy, so
Yeah.
they're.
Yeah. So exactly. But think about it. Do they? Even if it's 70 degrees up there, it's still hot for them. And I'm guessing. But you're talking about someone to maintain like the average Bigfoot. I can't remember if Meldrum said this or not, but they have to maintain 15,000 calories a day.
don't three bikers have to start spring around real early when?
So think about that.
Yeah,
So, I
early
mean,
spring.
that's a
Doesn't wanna
massive
get
food
up to
supply.
Maine before
That's,
it
you
gets
know,
too cold.
It's not easy. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
In your opinion, on a scale from 1 to 10, where would you say their intelligence level is? And if so, also, if it's high, do you think that maybe their frequency rate is pretty high and that's why they're so elusive on camera and it's harder to capture them super clear?
That's a really good question. I'll tell you, like, you know, if we go with a normal GAP score for a human being, you know, global assessment of functioning, let's just say perfect global assessment of functions are 100 for us, but that's not just a G for general intelligence. That's just all around functioning. Right? I think they're probably right up there past us when it comes to their environment. In ours, they're probably at 60 or 70. I think they're highly intelligent. I think they learn. I think they observe. And I tell you, it's one of these things where, let's just say you had 20 or 30 dogmen in a pack, right? And they decided they didn't want to see any more hairless Bigfoot running around their woods. So they're going to get together and they're going to go attack a small town and wipe it out. Could they do it? Of course. Have they done it? Not that we know of. All right. So, but I think, you know, it depends. It's situational. And I give that example simply because I think the way they're going to act is going to be situational. I think they're always going to look, you know, again, what's the chances of me being hurt versus, you know, say like the court can take. And I think that's why they're such good hunters, is because they work in packs. You know, they're not ever going to take one thing out by themselves unless they get a rogue or something like that. Even the way they're designed, they can rip anything apart. So I mean, I'm not deflecting the question. I think they're highly intelligent. I think they're very, very possible they have a learning curve. So it's a hard one to put. But I'd say in their environment, they're 100%.
Do you think they're also telepathic and they can mess with your technology?
That scene, 2-3 years ago, I'd say no, but it's. I don't think it's telepathy. I think they have infrasound. I think they're
They can see the
infrasound. That's,
infrared and things too.
well, yeah. Well, I think that's just their color spectrum. I think that's just the way they see things. It's like the way dogs see things. But I think they've got the infrasound that for some reason that specific frequency they can use has the potential to mess with our electronics. I'm not saying they're sitting there going or alien or anything like that. I just think they have
But just
infrasound.
coincidentally, the internet may go out. I mean,
I've had battery drain.
yeah.
We've been in the middle of nowhere. We've had issues. GoPro, just dead, brand new battery, nothing. You know, tape recorder goes dead, brand new battery, and then, you know, you get back to the car, everything's working fine. It's
So
like someone turned on an off switch.
what's your thought then tying some of that in as far as interdimensional kind of thing?
I don't buy that.
You don't buy it?
No. What I've seen is corporeal, and it's raw nature.
But even if they weren't interdimensional, could they slow themselves down so much to make themselves look like they're phased in and out?
No, I think they've got built-in camouflage. I think it's their fur. I
And
think,
that
you know, they were looking at
Makes
polar bears.
sense.
Polar bear looks
But
white,
they're
his
so
fur is gray.
self-aware of their surroundings.
Right, but you look at the way a polar bear can bend in because his fur mirrors what's over
Except
here.
it's
It's
all
kind of like
in
predator.
Exactly.
It's very
That's
remote.
what level.
You know, there's theories that Bigfoot's hair is hollow. Well, if that's true, then when he's around, his hair's gonna pick up that color. It's almost like, up here, it's gonna look
Like
like
a
that.
lizard.
Exactly, like a chameleon. So I think they've got like that built in. And let's look at the color spectrum. They're black, that auburn red, you know, and look at camouflage. I mean, they've got perfect camouflage. If you take someone in a Bigfoot suit and stick them 6 feet in the woods, right over here, you're not gonna see them. So I think they've got that perfect camouflage, you know, plus they're patient and they're intelligent. You know, I mean, there's been reports of people thinking they're seeing like a tree stump over here, and all of a sudden the tree stump gets up, it's 10 foot tall, and walks away, you know, so I just think they're masters of their environment. And I think you'd have to be. Because honestly, you know, they've been avoiding us. You know, and the other thing, I have a theory, you know, deforestation, everyone thinks I'm deforestation. We're 84% intact from the way our natural resource, our forests and everything, we're 84% intact from when we originally got this, when we originally came here. That means we've only managed to destroy, you know, 16, 17% roughly. Turn the cities, roads, everything else is still forest and untouched. That's a lot of space. The other thing I tell people, people say, well, why are we seeing them so much now, blah, blah, blah. If you read, there's a book called Pax Americana, and it talks actually about smallpox and the Revolutionary War and how much damage it actually did. Not just on this side. A lot of people think 1776, the world stopped. It was just the East Coast. Everything was going up north, south, and west. Smallpox was wiping out everyone. Native Americans, Europeans, everyone. Well, smallpox is also one of the few viruses that will jump to, guess what, to grade 8. So, if Bigfoot is really common in grade 8, Gigantopithecus, guess what's going to kill him? Smallpox. So there's reports in Canada, the Quickwowee tribe, it's way up north. They're dying in there, and Bigfoot would be coming in from the woods trying to get help. They knew how to communicate with them. And they said, we can't help you, we're dying too. And they actually died together. So, my thing is, I think their immunity's built up, just like ours did. And over time, they became immune to our diseases. And I think that's probably the same thing happened with dogman. Dogman's not new. Cynocephali has been around. Alexander the Great, if you read about Alexander the Great, he hired a pack of Cynocephali to fight for him. They're mercenaries. They didn't speak English, they could understand what he said. They were incredible metalsmiths, and they were fierce. One was worth 20, and he hired them to fight for him. So, look at Anubis. Take Anubis and look at Dogman today. Same thing, I mean, so where's he been? I don't know. There's a whole thing, if you believe that the Egyptians came here prior to Columbus, we have places in Ohio, there's Egyptian relics and treasures and stuff in caves there, and then you've got the Grand Canyon theory, that they brought all this treasure and everything over there. Who's to say they didn't bring Cynocephali with them for protection?
Does that mean that the Solomon can be a chimera then?
Very possible. Very possible. Again, we're dealing with stuff that we don't know where it came from. We know it's been here forever. Bigfoot, in my opinion, has been here. It probably predates us. Where did he come from originally? I don't know. Is he originally from planet Earth? Again, I'm not going to sit here and tell, oh yeah, he's been from. I don't know. I mean, I wish I did. I'm writing a book right now, and I've got chapter 1 done real well. But it's like chapter 2, where do we go from there? How you explain it? Question mark, question mark, question mark. What's chapter 3 going to be? Running from the boogeyman. So, I mean, it just depends, Again, everything I'm telling you is just research I've done or things I've heard that I believe. No one can sit here and tell you the exact truth of the matter because they don't know. And if they do know, they wouldn't have been doing it. So it's just one of those things you're just going to have to take the evidence for yourself. And again, I want people to go out and research. I want you guys out there looking for stuff. Find the truth. You got to keep believing this stuff. Because if you don't, then there's a whole large thing that's being hid from us. And we don't know why. And we should know. Is there any more questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple more.
Yes, ma'am.
Just out of curiosity, in the David Politis book, I think it's the Hunter's book at the very end, where the woman hunter in the blind in Ohio or wherever she was, she saw something that was predator-like, and
Her
supposedly,
husband's a physicist?
and his husband's
Right.
a physicist, and she got it on film.
Uh-huh.
Any reports of anything like that around here? Out of curiosity?
Matter of fact, yes.
Excellent. Where?
But not far from here, but we prefer not to talk about it, but almost the exact same
In
situation.
Haywood County? No.
No.
Good.
Close. Very close.
Close to Haywood County? Excellent.
Driving distance.
Maybe I need to talk to you. I just need to.
But
Make
I know
sure.
2 people who I trust completely with my life that saw the same thing. And to this day, huh?
What was that?
It looked like Predator.
That predator imagey,
Yeah.
that,
And just-
that
and then it just-
shadowy
Yep, that whole thing.
Okay.
And
kind
there
of
it
thing.
was.
Hologramic type of thing.
And it was there. And it was staring.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Any recent sightings or calls about Linville Gorge?
About what, bro?
Linville
Linville.
Gorge?
No, not that I've
No?
heard. I haven't gotten any, but that doesn't mean there aren't any.
Yeah, I mean, that was the only experience that I've had around here. Was in Linville.
I had a couple last year.
I'll take that.
Oh, that was the kid that was backpacking, and he said all he saw was a black arm. He got thrown.
We were, my girlfriend and I was, you know, we took all day to get down, and we were swimming in a pretty, you know, remote swimming hole down there that not a lot of people know about it. And it was,
Say it right, Swollen.
Swimming hole.
There it is.
And basically a boulder came arcing
Yeah, you got,
from the eastern rim. I mean, there were no.
you got asked to leave, brother.
Yeah, there were no
That's all you gotta
pebbles,
tell me.
no trees
No.
breaking anything. It was just a rock that came.
Okay, how much you think that weighs?
I mean, it would kill me if it hit me.
Exactly. So who's gonna pick it up and get, if you saw
I mean,
the
there's
mark?
no trail on the eastern rim
Yeah,
anywhere
so
near
that
it.
means it got,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
no, that's, yeah, you were asked to leave.
And we just looked at each other like,
There was, the report I got, or heard, I didn't get this one personally, it was the second or third hand, was the kid was hiking, and he had an Osprey backpack, like the mid-sized one, and he said he was walking, he heard, "Rrr," and then all he saw from his peripheral vision was like this arm come out of nowhere,
grab his
up.
back.
Yeah, but he picked him up by the back and threw him, and he was like KO'd. He woke up a couple hours later, and you could see like you know how they make them in a ballistic nylon, the packs. You could see where like something huge just grabbed it, stretched it out.